It's Friday night football at Bramall Lane, but are West Ham going to be a different proposition under David Moyes?
I believe so. Obviously, fabulous performance and result in the first game. Tough away game in the Cup at Gillingham, come through that, and just looking at the manager's CV and what he's done, thinking in England we're always quick to criticise people when it doesn't go so well, but he's a hugely respected figure in the game. LMA Manager of the Year twice, I think. His record from Preston to Everton was incredible. Everton top six continually, and so for what the vast majority of his career has been hugely successful, and definitely a different proposition with David Moyes in charge.
Obviously, the Carlos Tevez affair will be talked about again.
Only by Tim, only by you, and a couple of masks down at the London Stadium that we saw. But as I said at the time, water under the bridge. Two very similar clubs in a lot of ways. Administration situation. We'd have acted the same if it was flipped on its head. And as far as I'm concerned, that's well in the past.
Transfer window. You've talked about the importance of strengthening. Are you making any headway, anything close?
Trying to. I'll give a little bit more away today than maybe I did last week. I think, the point I was trying... Well, and obviously said to Rich, before, obviously, the stuff that came out on Sky, that we can't get involved in an arm wrestle with anybody. I see maybe West Ham and another couple of clubs are getting involved in an arm wrestle with a particular player. We can't, and we've never had that ability to. And I think as well, I wouldn't do it anyway like that. So, we've got targets, we've got position specific areas that we need to cover in the window, and we've got a budget that I will try and maximise. And as I said, if you come at me with names, I'm just going to bat them off. Jeffrey Boycott and all that stuff. And this, until, unfortunately, for you guys, and I totally understand it, it's a big part of what happens this January window and all the windows. It's very interesting for everybody. I like watching it, obviously. I don't like fielding the questions. So, but that's where it's at. This boy's going out. Richard Stearman, Kean Bryan needs games, Leon Clark, Jake Wright, Ben Hennigan. If we receive bids from anybody, we'll always assess them and do what's right for the football club. And in that, as I've said, we've got positions that we need to strengthen. Not bringing in 4, 5 and 6 players. The group's good at the moment. It's in a good place, and it's just a tinker. And it's an important window. It's just a tinker. And hopefully we can do that in January.
I know you've been pretty clear on Billy Sharp's future, but he's been linked with a lot of clubs almost on a daily basis. Just wondered, is there an ongoing dialogue with him? Do you speak about it?
No, not at all. I spoke to him about 3 weeks ago about it, knowing what was going to come up in January, knowing that the question would be asked, and rightly so. I've got to say, if I was in the Championship and needed somebody to give us a boost in January and saw that Billy wasn't playing at Sheffield United and not getting much game time, then I would ask the question. Always the decision is with Billy. He's got an important part to play. He's had an important part to play because he's put huge pressure on the strikers that I believe are young strikers as well. The boys that we've got in, Musette, Robinson and McBurney, how good is it to learn from the likes of David McGoldrick and Billy Sharp? So from an individual point of view, Billy, I should imagine, he's disappointed that he's not playing. From my point of view, the example he's set and his setting, the influence he has on those young players in the that have come from the Championship, that are trying to make their way in the Premier League, is huge. Obviously something that you will not really know about, which I get. But always the decision is with Billy. And as I said, if he comes to me and says, "Listen, I need to," then then of course I'll respect that. And as I've said, if I was a top Championship club trying to get into the Premier League and needed a few goals for now and the end of the season, I'd get Billy. But we might and we will need him here as well between now and the end of the season. So our need is a bigger one, or just as big as maybe a few of those clubs in the Championships need is big. But always the decision is with Billy.
You mentioned David McGoldrick there. We spoke to him yesterday. He's had the most shots in the Premier League without scoring a goal, but he's one of the most popular players here at Bramall Lane. That might seem quite unusual for outsiders looking in, but can you just explain the dynamic, what he brings to the team? And is he one of those players, if he went through a whole season without scoring, but he was still playing well, would he be in your team?
Yep. I'm certain that won't happen because it won't. People know strikers get on a run and something happens and he scores. He'll be the first to admit he's missed some good chances, but in that period as well, he's been a bit unfortunate as well. He could have got off the mark at Tottenham, apart from John Lundstram having a size 8 boot instead of a size 7.5. Don't get me started on that.
If he cut his toenails.
Something like that. He'll score and get off and running. He's a group of players, as I said, who affects the game tremendously for us. Makes us play. Part of a good group of forwards that we've got at the football club. I've always said, from a supporter's point of view, you do get found out at all of football clubs if you're struggling, if you're not putting the effort in, if the work rate's not in, and you're not trying, and you're hiding. And you're playing with 10. Certainly that isn't the case with David. We're sometimes playing with 12 because of the effect and influence he has on our games.
Chris, in terms of the players that you've mentioned potentially going out, are any of them close to deals moving out of the lane? Yeah,
they are. Yeah, there's ongoing talks with clubs and agents as well. So it's in the boys' interest, that they will be playing football elsewhere.
And in terms of the incomings, timescale wise, are you hoping to get that done early, or could it go to the end of the window, or just are you in the lap of other clubs?
Yeah, lap of agents, lap of other clubs, lap of players. Yeah, I think you look, nothing's really happened, is it? There's a few football, EFL transfers and a couple of loans, but nothing big's happened, and we're 9-10 days into the window. So I think that shows you how difficult it is, and possibly how slow it is as well. So I'm sure it'll speed up, but there's been a lot of work going on for quite a number of weeks now, from our point of view, teeing things up, but things change pretty quickly, and we just have to be on the ball.
Are you looking at home and abroad in this window? Because obviously most of your signings before have been from these isles.
From the home point of view, loans we can't, because we've already got Mo and Dean Henderson. You're only allowed 2 UK-based loan signings. So potential permanent at home and potential permanent abroad and loan.
In terms of squad fitness, injury-wise, of course, we know the goalkeeper situation. Verips and Moore, how are they doing, and how long are they likely to be out?
Yeah, Michael will miss because of the protocol through head injuries, which we all understand. Disappointing for Michael. His actions were double brave in terms of stopping a goal, and obviously it took a big bang. So he'll go through that protocol and process. Simon's back on the grass as well, so we've got a decision. We've recalled Jake Eastwood as well, so very unlikely that obviously we'll need our sub goalkeeper, but we've got a choice between Simon, see how he is, and obviously Jake, who's been out on loan at Scunthorpe.
If you had to put Jake in, would you be happy to?
In the first team? No problem. Yeah, that's how it is. This is part and parcel of the game. Injury, suspensions, and whatever. Opportunity opens up for somebody, then if that's the case, Jake will go in.
And if so, Simon's obviously back in training, so is there potential Jake could go back out on loan before the end of January?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, Michael is going to be back next week, so there's that possibility. It's done him the world of good going out to Scunthorpe and playing regular first team football, as is quite a number of the young boys, the under 23s that are all out there. As I said, I could have a really strong under 23 squad, but the majority of them are out. Reece Norrington Davis, Regan Slater's out, Tyler Smith's out. Other boys are out playing man's football. Jake's out there playing man's football as well. So their progression and their education is bigger than us getting results at 23 level.
In terms of your more regular starters, obviously had a weekend off largely last weekend. Injury-wise, are they okay?
All clear. Everybody ready, fit and ready to go. So again, delighted about that.
Do you feel it has benefited them having that little time just to push that refresh button?
Yeah, I had to, and we've certainly seen the effects of it over the last 2 or 3 days. I definitely had to. I think the manager at Liverpool said that as well. Not only talking about the sort of the games, how tight it is, the effect it has on players. First and foremost, got to look after my players, and it certainly wouldn't have been the right thing to do to go again with largely the team that has been representing the club in the Premier League so far.
Having reflected on Fylde, what did you learn sort of about the depth of your squad and the players that you have at your disposal?
I always knew that it was going to be a tough afternoon, no win situation. Been in that situation before when roles have been reversed. It's about the attitude from the team, which was really good. The team was never going to play in the manner that the first team do in the way it flows. That was never going to happen. I think if I'd have made 2 or 3 or 4 changes, I would have got a much more of a coherent, consistent performance. But in there, it's always, from an individual point of view, some will really take an opportunity to shine and tick boxes, and some might not, which was the case on Sunday. But biggest thing for me as well was not only looking at my players and hoping that they played well, was the attitude, and the biggest thing was getting through. I hated last year against Barnet, for everything that happened last season in our championship season, which was extraordinary really when you keep looking back at it. In 2 years how we've done that. The Barnet game really stung, and I was really determined, and we were really determined as a group of staff and players for that not to happen again. And a tough afternoon, but we came through it, and all the stuff that I was looking for, pretty much I saw.
Back to Premier League action this week, 8 o'clock Friday night. You're getting used to these different kick-off times and the fixture schedule sort of being a bit here, there and everywhere?
Yeah, you adjust, but we'd rather, we'd not want to be anywhere else. Another fantastic game, playing before everybody else, and up against tough opposition, a team that's tipped to go into the top 6. So, yeah, again, you've seen how tough the division is, how at times inconsistent it is, and some teams in transition, change of manager yet again, as we've talked about through Tim, the bounce of that, and the qualities that David will certainly bring to a talented group of players. So I'm sure our supporters will recognise that as well. Will recognise that every game is so tough to get a result in, and give us the best opportunity of producing a decent performance. Take the Liverpool game out the way, and there's a lot of other things in there that you can talk about, but generally the players are in good nick, in good place, and are desperate, and have got a great desire to get back to winning ways.
Will it be, if you can win, be good to put a marker down playing on the Friday night before the weekend? You would go up to 5th again? You
always enjoy Friday night games if you win, because you can sit back and relax and watch everybody else go through the mill. But obviously not so good if you don't get a result. So that's the gamble. But we're all out for a win, as you've seen us play. But stressing again the difficult aspect of the game, a completely different animal to maybe the West Ham teams that towards the back end of Christmas were possibly not as strong as maybe they are now, physically and mentally, more than on the ball.
Given your fixture list over Christmas and the ones coming up, is this potentially the best opportunity for points this month?
No, we went to Man City and went after a result and a tight game, and who would have thought that? I believe that game could have swung in our favour. It didn't. I just believe it shows you how clinical you've got to be when you're given the chances against the likes of Manchester City. I think great learning curve over the two games that we've had in Man City. That what I've talked about, the Liverpool game, when you're not quite at it, then really and Liverpool do say yes, then you've got a real uphill battle in terms of getting any sort of result. And you even look at Liverpool's recent results, going to Leicester and winning 4-0 off the back of coming out of the World Club Championships, which you would have thought that maybe that was the game that they might have slipped up in. So I think, even though always I'll look at my team, you've got to take your hat off and give enormous praise to Liverpool and the squad of players and manager, as I've talked about after the game. So every game we're competitive. We don't see any game that we can't get anything from, but still we know that, as I said, the experience is take chances against Man City. Referee moves out the way. He was a little bit more mobile than what he was. We might have got a result, and obviously improve your performance against Liverpool. And then going into these games, we especially at home at Bramall Lane and Friday night, hopefully the weather stays a little bit like this, a little bit more windy, a bit more rain, a bit more nasty conditions, as we all like it. But listen, we're playing a West Ham team that's got, still got a lot about them, and will have big designs in climbing the table, and I'm definitely sure that will happen under David.
They've got a better away record than their home record. You've been there this season. How much is that has to do with the London Stadium and all that, or do you buy into that?
No, because they had decent results at the start of that season, and last year they had decent results at the London Stadium. It sometimes happens that way. I mean, we were talked about from our point of view, newly promoted side, where you're going to get all your results. You're going to get them all at Bramall Lane and up to the Man City and Liverpool game. Our away record was top draw. So things happen through a season. I don't think it reflects anything on an attitude or a particular ground. Sometimes it just works out that way.
Does it show how cutthroat the Premier League is, that somebody of Manuel Pellegrini's sort of stature and history and success has lost his job so early in the season, really?
It's always been a cutthroat industry. It's always been a ruthless industry. People lose their jobs when people don't expect them to lose their jobs. People are given time when people are not expected to be given time. It's on an individual basis. But one thing is that we all know, whatever division that we're in, right the way through, is that even though the odds are stacked against us, still people want and expect you to win games of football. It's all relative. So I should imagine with the money invested into West Ham and their ambitions of getting into the top six, when you're bottom three, bottom four, then obviously the screw turns a bit and you're under a little bit more pressure. And we've all been through that, and it's not a nice feeling, and sometimes inevitable happens.
Do you feel it was a bold decision by David Moyes to go back to a club he's previously been at? He'll have had, I should imagine, numerous offers, and he's more experienced than myself in terms of picking and choosing what club he feels is his best job and his next job. All I would say is that there's an awful lot of quality managers out of work, so there have been loads of names in the frame for that job, and obviously there is a connection for the work that David did when he was last there, and the record that he had. I think he won 10 and drawn 7 out of so many games in a short period of time. So obviously, West Ham will be looking for that sort of impact on the team, short and medium term, that David has given them last time, and most certainly will give them this time.
Yeah, it certainly appears so. Back-to-back wins already in the 2 that he's coming, so there's a little bit of a bounce there for him. Does that make them a different club now to what you could have faced?
Yeah, I believe so.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, different. Nothing against the previous manager, but it's going to be a different type of game. Different ideas going into the players. From a system point of view, they played 3 at the back at Gillingham. Do they come and play that on Friday night? I think there's a big chance that they will. And you just said there, he's West Ham's away record is good, so it was still been a difficult game under the previous manager. We wouldn't have underestimated it, and we're not underestimating this game.
Thank you, Chris.
Cheers, Adam.
Just one from me. You know, in your London days when you were a kid, were West Ham a team that you looked to, that you followed?
No, I mean, it was a really short period of time, really. I think I was only there for 3 years in London, so from 7 till 10. So, no, it wasn't. Obviously, a lot of clubs in the capital, and different type of clubs. And as I said, I think West Ham is a very similar one to us. Working class background, roots, and club that got a huge amount of respect for. I think taking the other stuff out of it, I still think deep down, as I said in previous sort of press conference before the West Ham game, I think there was a lot of natter and a lot of talk and a bit of bitterness because of an administration error situation, but still a hugely respected club in terms of the history. Talked about World Cup winning players that played there, the young players that they've produced, and the relative success that they've had, in their history.
Jack Rodwell made his debut last week. How did you think he did in that? Because I've spoken like Jags in the summer and Martin Craney a year ago. It's not an easy system to master, and he's only been here a couple of weeks.
No, I thought he adapted very, very well. We stuck a lot on his toes in the lead up to it. He was very, very receptive. Video analysis stuff and talking through the position. He's a bright boy. Some of them aren't the brightest at times, and sometimes need a little bit more direction and showing and telling. But Jack's an intelligent footballer. I thought he picked up the position really well. Just ran out of gas a little bit, which understandably happened. He was always down to not to play the full game, and he'll get better through that experience. And as well as an intelligent boy, he'll look and watch how the team have played. In a number of positions, he's played in the middle of a 3. He's played, obviously, now for us on the right of a 3, and he can play in a 2 in midfield as a sitting midfield player and 1 up as well. So we've not just got him for that position as well. But always, his job is to get to grips with any position that we ask him to do, which I'm sure he will do, and then force his way into the team, which obviously is not easy at the moment.
Is that how you get across the system? Is it like video work, or do you talk them through it? How does it work? Because it is complicated, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's not a daft boy, so he sees how we play. If he's watching first team games, he'll watch how the likes of Ollie Norwood have played and Basham have played, and their structure and their job in that specific role. He's not Chris Basham and he's not Oliver Norwood, but he's Jack Rodwell, who's still got some great qualities. So from a video analysis, clips, showing him at what the position is like, in watching, training as well, position specific in training as well. We don't, it's not a toss off training. It's not a mess about. An 8 versus 8 is not a mess about where he's on the left wing or on the right wing. They play in their specific positions, and so Jack will get better at it, watching, learning, and playing in it.
You mentioned Bash there. I think it was his 250th start, I think, recently for the club. But just put into words what he's done for
brilliant.
Sheffield United. It's
Yeah, one of my favourite players, and I think when I finish managing and come out of the game, and I look back, he'll be right up there in players that I've coached and managed. Just an absolute diamond of a lad, funny boy, dry, popular boy, and just leaves everything out there, which is all you can ask from a player. I'm never going to say he's possibly the most. I won't talk about talented player. If I ever look back when I finish managing and coaching, he might not get into the top 3, but I think generally all-round players, certainly up there. Brilliant guy, and done a fabulous job for me, fabulous job for the football club. He was here before I came, and suffered, and one that stayed the course. And I think there's enormous amount in that what he's achieved, and I guess there's more to come from Bash as well, and he'll feel he's got more. He's an healthy boy, he's a fit boy, he doesn't miss, he trains absolutely full tilt every day, and he's a brilliant guy to have around and to work with, and I hope he stays for a few years longer, because he's certainly has played a major part in what we've achieved, and going forward this season, medium and long term, still got a part to play.
And it's typical of how players who haven't been at this level for a long time for himself have just adapted so well to the Premier League. Did you see this in them, and how did you get that belief across to them? Because it's
well, you hoped. You look at examples. There was. I always look back at a pre-season trip we had to Marbella training centre, by the way, not Port Banús. But that did play a little bit of a part in it as well. And Bournemouth were training there at the same time, and they were in the Premier League, and we were in League One. Just got up to the Championship, I think.
You just got up,
yeah, that was it. First year in the Championship, and we talked about examples: Ariarta, Charlie Daniels, Simon Francis, Steve Cook. All through their team that were now playing in the Premier League and doing well. Obviously, Eddie and his team have sort of been comfortable in the Premier League for a few years, and so there's always examples out there. So you always hope. You always don't want to rip the side apart, but it is relentless and it's ruthless, and there's no emotion as well in it. And if Bash or any of the boys, I felt, couldn't do the job that we were asking him to do, or couldn't raise their levels, then obviously we have to consider that sort of position and player. But certainly they've all gone away in the summer, raised the game, and are playing very, very well. Now, given an opportunity, the key is to cement themselves as Premier League players for a few years. As much as we want these fixtures, the Manchester Cities, the Liverpools, every Premier League fixture to be a fixture every year, these boys want to be part of that, and certainly that's the key for them now, to keep going and keep improving.
Not been for a month, and that was a microphone. Most of it.
Morning, Michael.
How you doing?
I'm good, you?
Yeah, not bad, pal, thank you. Just a quickie, Sheffield United, as I'm sure you're fully aware, are the only Premier League club who haven't given minutes on the pitch to players of 21 years of age or younger. Is that...
Have you been looking that up?
I didn't think I'd get all that out in one. Is that because you believe that obviously experience is key to keeping the club in the Premier League?
Yeah, I think there's a few things in there. I think that is one of them. We were in a situation 2 or 3 years ago that we had to move our best players on to invest in players to get out of League One, and then obviously to carry that on into the Championship, likes of Aaron Ramsdale, Dominic and Che Adams, and as well Premier League clubs were coming in for him as well, so along the way, so that was difficult to keep hold of them as well. As I've talked about,
not taking a wrecking ball to the team that we've got. It's an experienced side that knows the jobs. I think as well, you know, every Premier League club's a Cat 1. We're a Cat 2. The amount of money that some of these clubs, established clubs, put into their academies and youth systems is enormous. We're not at that stage at the moment. So hopefully, if we manage to get a foothold in the division and stay in there, obviously the likes of looking at the academy and upgrading it from Cat 2 to Cat 1, and possibly looking at training ground moves as well because of the lack of space that we have here, and the space that we need to be a Cat 1 gives us a better chance. You know, and we're in an area now that is getting dominated by the likes of Manchester City and Manchester United, and a lot of the clubs are finding it very, very difficult to fight off, you know, the huge Premier League clubs that are knocking on the door, and they're at a completely different level to what we are in terms of what they can offer parents, what they can offer players, and obviously facility-wise, and from a financial point of view. So we understand that. We're not embarrassed about it. The academy has been brilliant. We will get back to that, I believe, but it might take a little while to move that on, and obviously through that it needs quite a bit of investment. So it's certainly something that we're looking at.
So are you happy with the talent that's coming through at that level?
Well, we're always looking, but you know, for young players now to break into first team level is hugely difficult. You know, you look at Manchester City, and I think there'll be eye-watering figures that they've spent at academy level through facilities, through recruitment, through fees, through education, going to private schools and everything. And there's one who gets a few minutes now and again, Phil Foden. I'm sure he'll go on to make many more appearances, and there's obviously players that they've sold. I understand that, but it is difficult for young players to make the grade in the Premier League. But we'd like that to happen in the future. It's been good for us in the past, but we'd like that to continue. But at the moment, as I said, it was all on getting into the Premier League, and to do that, every sort of penny had to go into investing in the first team to get us into the situation that we are in now. And as I said, hopefully off the back of that we can move forward and look at different parts of the club that needs investment and needs improving.
But having said that, you've got the talent still coming through. Is experience still the key component to keeping the club in the division?
I think if I'd have played all my youngsters in this division, they'd have been absolutely swallowed up. So, you know, we've got all on with the experienced ones in gaining points and winning games of football, to progress ourselves as a Premier League club. My remit at the moment is not to introduce players into the first team as young players, and first of all they've got to be good enough, and obviously the standard that we're playing at is world class at the moment, and but hopefully pathway as well that there is, and we have done in the past, and hopefully we'll continue doing that.
And just one quickie on David Moyes. Is he the manager to keep West Ham in the Premier League?
I wouldn't bet against them staying up, and the results, no doubt, and performances, no doubt, will be consistent, and I'm sure just a matter of time. Hopefully after Friday night that they win games of football and start climbing the table.
Thanks, Paul.
Cheers, Michael.